learn something?
No, let's get started. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our podcast series. Today, my guest of honor here in the podcast series is Dr. Yunus Zaidon. Dr. Yunus Zaidon is currently the director of our simulation center. He's a researcher and he is a healthcare simulation expert with a decade of experience in the field. Dr. Yunus holds a PhD in mobile learning applied to virtual patients from Hassan II University of Casablanca. Dr. Yunus helped design several simulation programs in different countries. He collaborated in the past as a consultant with many educational institutions and healthcare simulation industry. Dr. Yunus also has a strong knowledge in healthcare simulation and computer science focused on technology integration in education, game-based learning, and artificial intelligence. He is a lecturer and author of several scientific papers. So today our podcast session is about learning innovations. It's gamification and game-based learning. So Dr. Yunus is an expert in both fields. So let's hear from Dr. Yunus about the innovative techniques.
Well, thank you for having me first, and I'm very excited to discuss all these points. Gamification, as introduced in the literature, can be a very niched or very specific field of study, and it can be also very different than game-based learning as a large paradigm for education, for sure. Yeah.
So is there basically a difference, because I wanted to break this notion actually, we cannot confuse gamification with game-based learning. So is there any one or two difference points that we can differentiate between gamification and game-based learning?
Well, gamification can be a tool for game-based learning, as game-based learning is more large or broad term or concept of education that will be involving different techniques and mechanisms, and one of them is gamification. So gamification is very specific to the way we will be conducting the learning and the way that we will be designing any activity, educational activity. So gamification is a way of doing that, while game-based learning is something more broad and more large as a concept and as a paradigm for education.
Yeah, so it sounds like gamification adds an element of fun and excitement to the learning process. And is there any impact on the learning outcome? Is it related to the learning outcomes?
Definitely. Think about a very traditional way of teaching your students. So for example, you will have your PowerPoint with different slides, and because if you've been teaching that matter a lot, you will be having a lot of slides, of course. So think about the practical part of your theory. So to bridge that gap between that theory and the practical side of whatever you've been teaching, mainly you'll be using, for example, let's say case studies, or you'll be using, for example, some other tools, while gamification can introduce some fun to the activity just by, for example, involving some rewarding inside the activity. Let's say your students, they should compete with each other. That competitiveness also is one of the tools that you can use. All of this can bring some fun to the activity, so students, they will be more engaged. And basically, when we speak about the gamification, it will be more around that engagement, raising the engagement within your students.
Mm-hmm. So if we say that maybe some researches have been done which show that using these elements, game elements or game-like elements, they help improving the knowledge retention, critical thinking skills, and maybe decision-making abilities.
Yeah.
And what about honing the skill when you have these game-based elements? You were just discussing about some amazing tools that are available where a full session can be delivered in a game-based.
Of course, this is, as I told you, it's a complete creative way of designing the education. So this will be completely on the hands of the educator to design his session. And I cannot doubt those facts that you just introduced for that research, So definitely this is something that can that student can rely easily to, because mainly there is also a shift in the target of students we've been teaching also. Today we are speaking about generation Y, maybe teaching generation Z. And there is even a new generation that we don't even have a label for, you know, those. So those people, they have been born gamers.
Gamers,
They have been born and they use technology as they are breathing every day. So technology is a big part of their life. So unless we embrace that part and we master that part, because part of it also it's about mastering the tool so you can deliver the knowledge in a proper way and not lose, because serious game can be also part of that. Later on we can bring that concept also to the table, but basically all those three elements, they share the fun part, the high engagement levels.
Yeah, I was just going through some articles. They say that multiplayer simulations,
Yes, that
collaboration, how team building is learned through all
I will
these.
give you an example of that, like again a concrete example. I don't know about you, but for example, I remember my younger days where I was, for example, just playing in a video game. You can have fun playing the game on yourself, but the fun can be multiplied if you have another person joining you. So for example, I remember myself struggling with my brother just to try to get him hooked on the same game I like so he can join me and have fun. Because as I told you, fun can be multiplied if you have 2-3 people playing with you. Either they playing against you and there is some competitiveness, or they are playing with you, and then we are bringing more team base to that table too. So definitely there is a lot of interesting part of the education into that concept.
So, Dr. Yunus, any challenges so far you see coming up in establishing such a type of learning methodology, or if we introduce, especially in medical education, like it's different from other fields. So how it will be beneficial?
I can think of the very first one, which is we've been speaking about generation Y and generation Z, but actually there is older generation that they are still part of the education spectrum, right? So those generations, I'm speaking about the baby boomers, I'm speaking about generation X, and all of these people also, they are still big part of the education picture today. And those people, they hold a lot of experience that we can use and that you can dive in. So those people, I can see that, for example, they can have some struggle embracing the technology, but it's up to those younger generations to make them aware that this is part of the education and there is some evidence base to that, and they can just transfer their knowledge through this tools of education today. So for me, the biggest challenge when it comes to that part is that how can we engage those people too, because there is a lot to gain from that, because they have a lot of experience they can bring to the table. So if we can bridge that knowledge through those new tools to the new generation, that would be like the utmost goal for such a
So the main challenge will be upskilling the current instructors.
And I will definitely not call them the old people.
Not those. I will say that the experienced one, they need to be upskilled, and we need to have a lot of trainings and a lot of digital technology introduction as we go ahead. And I think reverse mentoring will also help. I think the younger generation should be given a lead to be actively involved in their...
This is, I believe, one of the... It's related to the first challenge we've been speaking about, those seniors, is that they should trust the new generation on the knowledge. Trust that they can do things, even if the tools are different or the way and approach is different, but this new generation, they are capable of things. And that trust, it can be translated as anything that you can see practically in the education today, because that transfer is very important to make. So I can see those new generation dealing differently with that, I would say, senior generation. So they can both work together and then make sure that the knowledge is transferable to other people without being like very, I would say, very stubborn about the old way of delivering. The education.
Resistance. They should not show
Yes.
resistance to the change. So, what are your future plans for the SIM Center here?
Well-
You're leading us
Actually,
into a
it's
new
it's
era of simulation. So, what's in store for DMCG?
I would say this is a group effort. I have been very happy about the journey so far because it have been. I mean, I am celebrating 1 year. I already celebrated my 1 year like 3rd of October. So it have been 1 year joining the MCG, and I was very happy to see the outcomes until now. Less than 1 year, we've been able to accomplish a lot of things. And again, I'm telling you, this is a group effort. I have a very, very good team supporting me for whatever I'm doing. Either it's the sim team or at the large scale, maybe the college, like yourself, and a lot of faculty coming to me speaking about different projects, inspiring me with new ideas. And simulation can be very important to any medical program or healthcare program in general. But basically, if there is no team behind it, you cannot diversify the simulation offer you can give to your students. So this is something that we've been able to do until now. And then for the near future, we have a lot of partnerships coming. So in 1 year, we established the SIM program, but next year definitely we have even more objectives and goals to achieve. We are working towards our accreditation for the program. Basically, we are 80% certified simulationist now. So I personally hold both certifications from SSH, and my teammates also, they have certifications now. So this is also a good quality standard we are having here in the MCG. As I told you, the partnerships are coming. There is 2-3 MOUs I can think of now. One of them already done, and 2 of them on the making. And those people also, they will help us reach new targets into the educational market here in the UAE, and inshallah also we can reach a new horizon like by end of 2024.
Yeah, I had this thing in my mind about the use of artificial intelligence and analytics. Is any relation between gamification and these, and can we use it in personalized learning, these elements?
I can, coming from mobile learning, the contextualization and personalized learning, it's a big part of that for the mobile learning. And I can say that AI, it's even better at leveraging those kind of specific things into the technology.
Yeah.
So AI can be the best to do that.
Yeah, I think it can track low
Yes.
achievers, and we can personalize
Yes, of course.
learning
Because
for them.
basically, it's a way for you to leverage your data. So whatever data you've been able to record, you can use that data and through AI, you can work it out to make the best out of that data, having personalized tracking of your students,
Exactly. I was
and
just
then designing new activities and new sessions based on that.
Especially if we check the leaderboard and we can make out like the low achievers and mid achievers and high achievers from there just by their leaderboard or their badges and their involvement and their collaboration. So I
Basically,
think
it's a model, and what is very interesting about AI is that you can design your own model. You will have different inputs to that model, and based on the outputs you will have, then you can design the new and the future of your education.
You can evaluate.
So AI can be your supporting technology for that, and it can be something that also, and this is, I believe this is breaking news at some point, because we will be actually involving AI into the new workshops in simulation we are doing. So we'll be designing some new workshops to show how we can leverage and use AI to design maybe scenarios, to, for example, design new objectives for your sessions, and we will see what is the capabilities that AI can bring you and what you should be aware of as ethical part, to not cross that limit too, because AI basically it's a technology but still needs a lot of ethical, I would say, direction to it, so you can make the best out of that technology, while you are ensuring, for example, safety of your students, credibility of your knowledge you are delivering through that, so all of these aspects.
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of fun coming up.
Yeah.
Medical education has a lot to see. It will be a game changer actually, all these things that are happening around. So any plans
Well,
for introducing the game-based learning or designing, even because you have your expertise in
Yeah.
the design and in
so basically we're doing, currently I would speak about my research, because also I'm conducting some research to that. So basically there is a project ongoing for escape rooms, which is part of the game-based learning. So this is something that I have been involved like a lot lately. But basically here in the college, I know that you, for example, you are leading some good initiatives into that. You are doing some nice things around.
Yeah, I jumped into
This
metaverse
is
a few
good.
weeks back.
Yeah, this is very nice. You are setting the bar and you are following your lead. Inshallah, for sure, the college will be having different people doing different things around the technology for the best of our students, for sure. So research I'm currently doing, and then the new project in simulation will be to introduce that gamification part into the simulation. Yeah.
So looking forward for a future, fun-filled future for students actually.
Inshallah.
So any wrap-up?
Well,
Wise words.
wise, I would not say I reached that wise level yet, but I'm working on it. Every day have been a learning journey for me, so I'm still learning from a lot of people here, and I'm blessed to work around some nice people. So I'm learning from everyone around. And second thing is that working in a supportive environment is very important too, because if you want to establish anything around technology, definitely you need the support. So the support from management have been like
phenomenal.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, so for me, this is a very important thing. And then I would say that anything you do, you better practice that into a controlled environment, and then go outside and do whatever you want with it. But at least you've been trained and you've been humbled in a very controlled environment to learn everything you want to do, so you feel safe doing it later on in the real world.
Yeah, regarding our virtual reality experiences and augmented reality, so those elements are there to come up, right, with
Yes,
the
for
escape
sure.
room and
For
all.
sure.
So,
I mean, this is big part of the simulation offer we can do, but basically those kind of technologies, they need some investments.
yeah.
So we need still to work on that, but this is something that is coming.
So assessment was my concern in these type of teaching and learning, because in the end we have to judge, we
Yeah.
have to assess. So is it really easy to assess by these elements, or
I mean,
we need to devise special tool to
I would
measure
not say
these outcomes?
easy, because if you look at the evidence and you look at the literature, there is still work ongoing. So nothing is easy when it comes to those kind of technology. But at the same time, it's not that difficult, because if you have, at the end of the day, it's the educational activity. You are using a different tool, which is AI, which is virtual reality, maybe augmented reality to that. But at the end of the day, the way you are assessing can be aligned with the general assessment that you would do within such an activity. There is a lot of tools out there that you can use. Some of them, they are validated, some still not. But you can develop your own. Like, why not?
Tools, yeah.
Because it's an emerging field.
Yeah, because I was thinking like the traditional tools will not be sufficient. We'll have to devise the tools plus training of the assessors.
And I believe in something, I don't know, maybe you can share with me the same point of view, but I believe that because we are working with such innovative technologies, There is a big part of research that should be conducted so we can validate and have those evidence base for later on activities that we'll be doing. So if we don't take that risk, I mean, it's not risk, but if we don't take that initiative of conducting research, designing a good study, so we can have those tools later on, maybe nobody will have that tool after that, because we should take initiatives into that field and say, okay, let's conduct something that will benefit other people later on.
Yeah.
So we can do that for
So
sure.
like there are, like, I must say, thousands of tools to deliver your sessions, to deliver your presentations, but the thing in the end is that how are you assessing
Yeah.
what is outcome. So that is always
That's part of
On
that.
my mind.
That is part of the design you are doing.
yeah.
So, for example, let's take instructional design. So when you are doing that, also, you are thinking about the assessment part.
Exactly,
Why the heck?
evaluation is, and then you keep on
Exactly.
changing and you
Exactly.
keep on
So
devising new
Exactly.
delivery methods and designing
agility
methods.
can be part of that, but definitely you should be anticipating the evaluation side of your activity while you are designing it. Because while you are designing, you know which tool is the best for you to assess and evaluate that activity that you are
Activity.
designing.
Yeah, so it was really nice to know, because I see people like counter changing the meaning of game-based learning and gamification, and now we got to know that there are two different elements, and how it's linked to the learning outcomes, and how assessment will play a role, and how skill honing is an element of one, I must say, game-based learning rather than collaboration and motivation, which is the other form. So I think I'll have to write a lot of gist about what we discussed, and all of it is like I must say game changer because
of
we're
course.
discussing game-based learning. But it is so much to like learn in this field. Like it's
Of course.
just we are just skimming through the
This is just
top
we're
layer.
touching just
Yeah,
the
there is
surface
so
of it.
much into it, and I'm sure you know the depth of it. How, what is the machine learning part of it? What is happening at the deep learning part? We are only seeing the interface, I must say.
Of course, yes.
So
This
what
is this
goes
is
behind, it's
for
huge
any,
and amazing.
any
Yeah.
new technology. Definitely, for like some conversation that we've been having now, is that we are touching a little bit the surface of it, but definitely things can be much deeper than that. And if you want to know more about a certain field like these, definitely you should have some time just reading the literature, trying to find out what other people have been doing so far. And then, and this is something maybe I can advise on, is that don't underestimate the difference of languages. A lot of people have been conducting different studies, but maybe they didn't publish in English. But basically the tool they've been using, the design, the framework, all of this you can use for your own, but it's just a matter of finding those materials somewhere in the internet, for example, or in the research. So this is something that I have been doing. For example, I myself speak 3-4 languages, so I'd say I'm not good at Spanish, but I can count it as a language maybe. But for example, I can translate those research or those, I would say, gray area of the literature that have been published in French, for example, and use a lot of these, and then introduce them in the activities I'm designing. A lot of people, for example, they designed what they called toolkits for gamification. So let's say you want to introduce gamification to your students, you can go out there and find a toolkit that you will just pick from, and then you can align those into your design and then use it for your students, basically.
Students, amazing. So I think we should have a presentation or a webinar on these tools actually, Dr. Yunus. So I think next
Something to
yes,
think about.
yes, yeah. I think we should have a huge collaborative webinar and get the
When?
experts around, because this is something we as instructors we need to know. We need to get the thing, because we have to deliver it.
Yes.
Students have to perform, they have to be engaged, so they are on the other side, on the receiving end. But for us, I think there's a lot coming up, and I hope, inshallah, soon we will have a webinar on
Yes, inshallah.
these toolkits and what's latest going on. So I think this I can conclude as just introductory podcast with you, just what is there, and I hope that all the webinars and sessions will live up to our expectations, and we just give the latest trend And
Yes.
latest,
This is
yeah,
all about the helping each other. When
helping,
it
yeah.
comes to new fields and new information about something that we care
Information
about.
and, yeah, and just like to start the word about it,
Yeah.
and it should be the buzzword around, because we are finally looking for digitalization of all the medical education. So
I think about anything that you want to do around education, you should first try to either find the community or build community around that subject. When you will establish that community, things will be more interesting after that, because different people can bring different point of views,
Point of
bringing different backgrounds to the same thing. So building a community maybe for game-based education here around UAE or GCC can be something very important or very interesting to develop.
very
such things.
interesting. We can even collaborate with other students, national, international. Yeah, amazing session. So I would like to thank you, Dr. Yunus, for having me here today and giving us a wide range of insight into what's going on
Thank you
the
for
other
having
side
me.
of technology. So I think we will conclude our session with this.
Yeah, so thank you
Looking
again for
forward,
having me.
yeah.
Yes, and it has been an incredible session. I'm just talking to you about things, and I know that you are very passionate about new technologies. And yes, again, thank you for having me, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Dr. Yunus.